but in a sense, like, if you believe it to be true, it becomes true in your life. So I'm going to talk about five limiting beliefs. What's up, guys? All right, Dr. Chris Park, family physician, addiction doctor. Got my coffee, and let's talk. So I want you to think about your limiting beliefs. Now, a limiting belief is something that you believe to be true, but that's not necessarily true, and that you can change the way you believe about it. And typically, a limiting belief is something that you hold so ingrained in you that you can't move forward or find like the solution to the problem you're trying to fix. So, and I did another video about some negative psychological traps we get in, and so watch that video as well. But what was the title of that? I can't remember. I can't remember what we called that video. Let me pull it up. We'll see. Oh yeah, control your mind or your mind controls you, about cognitive distortions. So this is similar. These are things that you believe to be true, but that are not necessarily true. But in a sense, like, if you believe it to be true, it becomes true in your life, okay? So sometimes we just have to change the way we believe about something. And let me give you a few examples and you're going to understand. So I'm going to talk about five limiting beliefs. And these are things, and I'm going to use these in the context of somebody who is tapering off Suboxone or other buprenorphine medications, and we'll use those examples, okay? So the first limiting belief is that you want your results now. And I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? Because you want to be better now. If you're trying to get off medicines, you want to do that now. If you're trying to stop drugs, you want to be stopped now. That makes sense. But we become fixated and attached to this idea of having everything we want now. And that means we don't want to work for it, right? We don't want to go through the process that it's going to take to get the results we want. So, instead of saying, I want the end results now, retrain your mind to say, okay, I'm in the process now. And right where I'm at is right where I need to be. Okay? Now, this implies that you are actually in the process of trying to do better, but if you're watching this video, then that is exactly where you're at, okay? The second limiting step is saying that this is impossible or that this is hard, and I get this a lot. So everyone says you can't taper off Suboxone, but guess what? That's not true, because people taper off Suboxone all the freaking time. It is possible, and it can be difficult, right? But the reframe is because if you focus on how hard it is or how difficult, you're just going to get beat down. But if you reframe your thinking to this is easy, and then think, why is it easy? Like, what is easy about it? Okay, well, it's easy because I go to the doctor gives me a prescription. I'm not having to buy, drugs off the street. This is easy because I'm not sticking a needle in my arm with heroin. This is easy because, 30 years ago, opiate addicts didn't have buprenorphine to use. Like, look for the way, to embrace the gratitude in the situation. I know that's cheesy, but it's so true and it makes a huge difference. Look for what is actually going right, what's going well. Okay? So the next rate limiting step is Which ones did I do? Okay, so the third one is, and I'm going to, we've talked about this too. It's basically believing you have to do something because of someone else. In other words, you're trying to live up to someone else's standards. You think, I want this person, which is basically you wanting someone to like you. And if you want someone to like you so much that you're putting your health at risk, that means you don't like yourself very much, often, okay? So you got to reframe why you're doing things, okay? Don't taper off Suboxone because you watched this video and you want me to be happy with you. Don't taper off Suboxone because, your wife wants you to. Obviously, getting cleaned up from drugs and being healthy is important. And obviously, it matters what the people you love think. But at some point, you have to internalize and make this your goals and your process. Because you're going to meet somebody who says, look, you don't need Suboxone. You can taper off in 2 weeks and be done and be clean. Well, maybe they did, but maybe you can't. So don't get caught up in this belief that you have to be what other people expect you to be. Right? That's not an excuse, to be a jerk. No. And it's not an excuse to be selfish, okay? I want you to get cleaned up for your kids. I want you to get cleaned up for your wife, your husband. I want you to get cleaned up for your boss so you can do a better job at work. I want you to get cleaned up for all these things because all those things are going to make you happy and healthy and, just a better human being, right? But it's your process. So my point is, don't follow someone else's path. Follow yours. And there's a saying, and I don't know where this came from, if it's a spiritual woo-woo, I don't know what it is, but it's basically, it's better to follow your path imperfectly than someone else's path perfectly. And I like that. All right. So the next rate limiting step is blaming other people for your problems. When you say, it's not my fault, it's their fault, right? Instead of looking at fault, let's look at responsibility. Because you're responsible for what goes on in your life. I don't want to minimize what happened to you when you were a kid. I would never do that. If you went through traumatic events, I'm sorry. But the thing is, you're stuck in the now. And the past is ripping your life apart unless you take responsibility for your present. And you can. Okay? You can. You can take responsibility for your present. Also, quit blaming your doctors. Quit blaming the car wreck that started you on the spiral of taking pain pills. Quit blaming, your friends who... Quit blaming, the people who you're hanging out with who are using around you. Quit blaming. And quit even blaming yourself. But instead, just take responsibility. This isn't about fault. This is about ownership. Okay? Okay. So, I'm not done. That was 4. I don't know why I said 2. 4. We got the 5th one. All right. It's this. It's saying, I can't. Don't say I can't. I hear this all the time. People say, I can't lose weight, doc. I don't ever eat anything. I can't. Don't say can't. Just say won't. Just say you won't do something. I can't stop using drugs. Well, just say you won't stop using drugs. I can't make it to my son's Little League game. Well, just say you won't make it. Now that, I know, maybe I'm hitting close to home, but let's reframe things. Whatever your goals are, reshift things to say, I can, I will, or I won't. It's okay to say no to things, but to say can't, it kind of goes along with everything we've been talking about. You're shifting responsibility. You're laying off blame. You're talking. You're using the difficult, how hard things are, how tough they are. Don't say you can't do something. Either say you won't, or say you will, or say you can. And you can add these things together. You can say, listen, if you and your doctor have discussed this and you've decided to start tapering off Suboxone, you might hit, some stumbling blocks. That's okay. Just say, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And when it starts to get hard, just say, you know what? There are easy things about this. It's going slower than I thought. But I don't have to have it now. Because I love myself and I appreciate myself and I appreciate the path that I'm on, and I am in the process and I am going to be successful. And maybe don't even say I'm going to be successful. Just go ahead and say, own it. I am successful. Guys, I hope this helped. Kind of one of my longer videos. Shoot me a comment. Let me know if you have any questions. What's other limiting beliefs that you've struggled with? Put it down there in the comments. If you got other ideas for other videos, hit me up. Go follow me on Instagram if you want to. And I just want to thank you guys for being here.